snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Hey folks, how's it going? So it's Saturday, for me at least. Sunday for some. Yeah, it has been, hey, Lumpy Pickle, welcome, welcome. Scott 2572, McFace Stab, Avocado Green KitchenAid. All the folks. Hey, Scott Connor, King of Puns, welcome, welcome. Yes, we are making a gluten-free katsu curry today. It was originally at the request of Your Kitten Me, which I'm sure they'll pop in the relatively near future. Hey, Chris Carnage, welcome, welcome. Yeah, we're making a gluten-free katsu curry today, and we're making just about everything from scratch today. We're actually gonna make our own Japanese-style curry powder. We're gonna make the curry roux and everything else from scratch. We're gonna make the katsu, and it's all gonna be gluten-free. And it should be good. I had to do a bit of research on what to do for some of the things, and actually I'm grateful for the challenge because I've not really delved into the world of gluten-free anything. Just because I don't have a particular need to for myself. So it was a good challenge because it made me kind of have to really examine the ingredients that I was using and think, okay, well, what can I do to, make those changes? So katsu, to answer Scott 2572 question, katsu is, it's a fried cutlet. The name is Japanese. Usually it's either some form of pork or chicken, are two of the most common katsus. Usually made with in the case of chicken, usually a chicken thigh, or in the case of pork, either like a pork loin roast or like a piece from the shoulder or something. It's relatively thin, pounded out, seasoned. Breaded with panko breadcrumbs and then deep fried, and they use them for all kinds of trying to find cost-free. Good luck with that. You and me both though. But but katsu is it gets served with curry in Japan. It gets served as part of like a katsu don or a cutlet rice bowl, but they make the fried cutlet and they put it over rice, and there's egg and onion that are put on it. Katsu is served all kinds of ways, and to be honest, like katsu as just a concept is super. Not only is it really easy, but once you actually see it, you're kind of like, oh, I've kind of made something like that before, because the process is your standard kind of triple battering to make a cutlet. So like for instance, and we'll do all of this, but I'll just explain it real quick. Once you have your piece of meat all prepped and ready to go, it goes into a flour or a starch or something, into an egg wash, and then into breadcrumbs. So and then fried. So it's just a breaded kind of cutlet. Yeah, it's a standard breading procedure. But in this case, since we're doing it gluten-free, we have to not use all-purpose flour and not use the normal panko breadcrumbs, which are made with wheat flour. So I had to find an alternative for that. So no spoilers on that one, but I did find one and tested it, and it worked really well. I mean, I was super surprised, and I'm really happy with how it came out. Yeah, absolutely. Rice flour would work just fine. I'm probably going to use tapioca starch today because I have it. And I when I made the oven fried chicken on Thursday, worked really well for it. So I'll probably just use the tapioca flour, or tapioca starch. But if you have like rice flour, if you got cornstarch, tapioca starch, potato starch, most of those will work without issue. But I'm gonna stick with the tapioca starch because, like I said, I got it. So in terms of my order of operations today, first thing I want to do is I'm gonna make a total of 4 katsu, so then that way Mrs. Weso and I can eat. Thank you. You're welcome. So I'm gonna get 4 thighs prepped specifically for that and get them seasoned up, and then I'm gonna leave them sitting out until we're ready to fry them. So then that way they have a chance to kind of come up to room temp, and the seasoning has a chance to kind of do its thing. Seasoned. And then we'll move on to making the curry powder, which there's a bunch of ingredients. And I thought I re-enabled this, but let me double check. Okay, I did not. So it should be working now. So if you hit the exclamation point recipe, it should point you to the link on the Discord that has the recipe for not only the curry, but also the curry powder. The katsu, you don't really need to... I've never used a recipe for it. It's a standard breading procedure, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But everything else will come together. I do have rice going. You might see the corner of my rice cooker here. I just started it right after I started the stream up. So that'll be hot and fresh when we're ready to go. So let's get started on breaking down this chicken. Okay. So you guys have seen me play with chicken thighs enough because I seem to do it quite often. It's probably my favorite piece of chicken. But when it comes to making katsu, you find that some people will leave the skin on and fry it up. I'm actually going to take the skin off just because when it's underneath the breading, it's just kind of a gummy layer, and I don't really want a gummy layer. So I'm gonna... Careful! I got a pibble behind me? Oh, hi, Jane. Oh, I think little girl heard me talking. So I'm just gonna trim off kind of this excess fat because, well, it's not gonna do anything for me. And then I'm just running my knife down the side of the thigh bone there, and then coming over the top to...
Scott redeemed a treat, but since your hands are chickeny.
Oh, thank you.
Jake! Come
here. Okay. Chicken bone. Chicken. So after I get them done, I'm actually going to pound these out in order to kind of flatten them out. So then that way they cook up faster and they're just, it's more even that way. I am, however, going to save this chicken skin because since I didn't get to make my chicken chicharron on Thursday, I'm gonna hang on to the skin and fry it up. Probably crumble it as like a topping for the curry just because I can. So, thankfully this is, I mean, it goes pretty quickly, but if you've never done it before, I remember when I was first kind of learning how to do all of this stuff, like it took a while just because I was unfamiliar with what I was doing. I wasn't necessarily the most comfortable working with knives. I mean, I'd been around knives and I'd used them, but I wasn't like super comfortable. But that's just something that comes down to experience and lots of practice. So don't worry if you don't feel confident right now. Just practice, you'll get it. And I'm not even all that fast, to be honest. 'Cause I know guys that are super fast when it comes to this and just break them down like it's nothing. They're impressive to watch. The rest of this chicken I'm going to hang on to, and I'm probably going to use for dinner tomorrow, I'm thinking. Been wanting to make that Filipino adobo. Part of me's thinking I'll do that tomorrow. So how's everyone's week been, now that it's finally over? No, I'm not going to use that today, only because I didn't really have a chance to give it a test run. Hopefully, I will be using it on Tuesday. At least that's the plan.
Mrs. Waze is concerned it might blow a breaker.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got this little bit of like cartilage here. We'll just cut that out. There we go. And they may not be the prettiest right now, but that's okay.
Now, 52 cents, 25 cents, he's asking about your new toy.
I'm not going to talk about the new toy just yet. When I'm ready to use it on stream, I'll introduce it then. But it should be good. Hi, Jane. Jane's laying on the other side of the counter here. He's just like, he's working with food. I'm hungry. I want something. Because that's just how he is. And those I will save for another use. There. And the rest of these we will consume probably tomorrow. Okay. Not too worried about laying this out. But let me get these on the board. Okay. So I'll set that off to the side. You know what? Let me put them on the bones for right now. That'll work. We got that. Let me wash my hands real quick.
Okay.
Yes.
What would your pinata animal costume be?
My pinata costume?
If someone got you a pinata costume, what animal or thing would it be?
If somebody were to give me a pinata costume,
I have no idea. like I'm thinking unicorn, I'm thinking Ramon's circle, like I don't know what you're thinking.
A pinata costume. Huh.
Make that happen. We got enough cardboard out there.
Yeah, we probably could. What? To be honest, I'm kind of thinking, so my first thought when the question was asked was like, wait, what? And then it turned into a carne asada burrito. A carne asada burrito as like a pinata like costume would be pretty funny. Yeah, yours would definitely be a shark. There's no question on that one. Okay, let me get the plastic wrap. Cause now, hey, Melly, how the heck are ya? We're making gluten-free katsu curry today. That's what it's gonna be. And I am making it for me. Alright. So now we're gonna beat our meat.
You're not gonna choke your chicken?
No. The chicken has already been choked. We are now getting ready to beat the meat. So, you don't have to put down plastic wrap in order to beat your meat. I do for, because safety reasons. Yeah, contamination reasons. That's right. But so I wanna beat them flat, and then we're gonna after we get the plastic off, we'll season them, and then we're just gonna set them aside, and then we're gonna move on to one of the recipes that I will go on record in saying that you probably shouldn't make it at home unless you happen to have all this stuff already, and then at which case, yes, absolutely do make it. Because the curry powder is kind of crazy, and if you actually pull up the recipe, you're going to look at the listed ingredients and go, I'm sorry, what? So, all right, let's beat our meat. Is there a what? Well, if you were to sing a song to this, the obvious choice, for me at least, would be Beat on the Brat by the Ramones. The only reason why I'm using the flat side of the mallet instead of the textured side is just because I don't want to shred up the plastic. Alright. That meat is looking properly beaten. Now, if I were doing this with, like, say, slices of, say, pork shoulder, to do a pork katsu, it's really common to, in addition to beating it, to doing a technique where you slice kind of parallel lines at like a 45-degree angle, maybe a half-inch apart, and just relatively shallow ones, because the whole idea is that you're trying to break longer muscle fibers, and then flipping it over and doing it again, so then that way that cuts on one side are perpendicular to the cuts that are on the other side of the piece of meat. So, and then pounding it out. That is just, oh yeah, cannot stop the battery. That's a good one, Scott. But that's a super common technique. So I'm just going to hit this with some of the kombu salt. And some of the pepper. Then we'll flip these guys and do it again. Thankfully, the salt is so fine that, like, putting on a thin layer like that really isn't that much salt. But it's got a bit of that MSG goodness mixed in, so it'll be super yummy. Okay, so I'm just going to leave this, not here. I'm going to get it out of the way because I need the counter space. I'm going to leave this out at room temp to not only soak up kind of that salt, but also come up to room temp. So then that way when we go to fry it, there isn't that huge of a temperature difference between the two. So we'll get that out of here. Hi, Jane. Okay. Move that. Bust out the Vitamix, because we're gonna make curry powder, and I'm gonna use my dry craft for this. If you pull up the recipe that's on the Discord, I have a printed copy here because, well, it is lengthy. That is the number of ingredients in this curry powder. And this is a pretty dang accurate recipe for a Japanese style curry powder. After having done a fair amount of research, it was kind of there's two big, I guess, curry brands in Japan, S&B and House. And the S&B curry powder is like everywhere. It comes in a yellow and red little can. If you don't want to make your own curry powder, which I completely understand, then by all means go with that S&B. If you can find the house brand curry powder, that's also an excellent curry powder, that it will have that Japanese curry flavor to it. Because really, they've kind of taken the idea of curry, like after it was brought to Japan, and really made it their own. I mean, it's such a popular dish that it's served like everywhere. It's Japanese comfort food is really what it is. As odd as it sounds that Japan and curry like would be a thing, it really is. They've completely made it their own, and it's amazing stuff. And one of the things that really kind of sets it apart is the fact that it is on the thicker side, because it's made with a roux as opposed to the bulk of like your Thai or Indian curries and things like that. But we're going to get to all that. The first thing we need to do is we need to make this powder. So on my list here of all the ingredients, and feel free to scale this down or up as much as you like. I have this scaled in such a way that it's going to make me a fairly decent amount. It is in fact with rice. Yeah, I've got rice going in my rice cooker right now, Vegas Squid. But we're also doing a gluten-free chicken katsu, and the curry is also going to be gluten-free. So that will not be an issue. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, you got it. You have to have the curry with rice. You have to. That's kind of non-negotiable, really. So yeah, if you pull up that recipe, and I'll show it here real quick. On my copy, you can see the little dots next to a few of the ingredients, like the mandarin. One mandarin. Like the fenugreek, fennel, dill, green cardamom, star anise, sage, things like that. The reason why those dots are next to them is because the version or the form that I have of those particular ingredients is a solid form. And that I'm gonna put into my dry carafe to blend up first before adding all the powdered ingredients, so then that way they have a chance to break down a little bit better. And we're gonna scale it like I have it on here, just so then that way we can maintain some consistency. But if you wanted to scale this down and only make a little bit, you certainly could. Or you can scale it up and make a big batch. My plan after putting this together is, so this is the last of my last batch of curry powder that I made. So I'm gonna add this to the finished powder just to keep it going. But, oh, this was something I kind of thought of. So when you watch most cooking shows or videos and things like that, yeah, kind of like a mother dough, exactly. Or a mother sauce or things like that. When you watch most cooking shows or videos, especially when they go to make spice mixtures, one of the things that just about everybody does is they tell you to take your whole spices and toast them up first so they get really aromatic before you grind them up. And that's great and everything. If I was using all of those spices like right then and there, then yes, I would absolutely do that. I am not toasting any of these before grinding them up. And it may seem completely counterintuitive, but let me explain why. So when you heat up all those solid spices, yeah, you're making them really aromatic, is because you're warming up the essential oils that are in there and they're becoming volatile and you're able to smell them. But when you do that, they also dissipate much quicker. They don't, it doesn't like lock them in. Exactly, you're releasing all the oils. So I don't want to do that until like I'm ready to actually use it. So when we go to make the curry, like we're gonna add the curry powder to the roux and actually kind of toast it and let it like open up, because we're gonna be eating it today. So it makes sense to do it then as opposed to toasting everything up first. Yeah, see, Vegas Squid knows what's up. So that is what we're gonna do. All right. Let's see. Can we see? No, we can't. There we go. That's better. Let's zero that out. All right. So let us get out kind of all the solids, and we will start adding all the things. There's a lot of things. Oh, we need those. We need that, and we're gonna need these, and we're not gonna need those yet, but we're gonna need all of this, and we're gonna need this too. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. Okay, so of the solid stuff, I got my one mandarin. Actually, this is like two. So when I went to the market in order to get dried orange peel, they wanted like $5 for this really small packet. So all I did, yes, I am sure that I want to do it. It's okay, Vegas Squid. The reason why is because after I add it, I'm gonna zero it out, and it'll be fine. It's okay. I know, I know. It's all good. I appreciate you looking out for me, but it's okay. This is how I normally roll, by adding it and zeroing it out as I go. So, but anyways, so this peel, I had some oranges on hand that I just used a vegetable peeler and peeled off all of the skin with as little as the pith as possible. Put them on a tray in my oven at the lowest setting that it would go, which was like 170 Fahrenheit, and left them in there for about 6 or 7 hours until they dried out and got all like super hard. So all of that is going in. I think when I measured it, yeah, like 17, 18 grams. I know I have on here 20. I'm not going to cry over it because I made this, and well, that's where we're at. So it's fine. Okay, zeroed out. Next up, fenugreek. There we go. I'm gonna grab a spoon. Okay. Thank you. Got all the spoons. Alright, so we need 10 grams of fenugreek, which normally you can only find it in kind of the seed form. I don't know why I know this, but apparently fenugreek is really good for mothers who nurse their children. I don't know why. I don't know why I know that. 10 grams. There we go. But yeah, apparently it's really good for mothers who nurse their children. I have no... Yeah. Which is why cooking is anything. I can cook like a some bitch, but I can suck eggs and bake. Oh, you know what? You know what? I'd be stupid. I'm passable at baking. I'm not the greatest. Thankfully, I know phenomenal bakers that I can message if I have questions about things. Fennel. I got fennel seeds. 10 grams. There we go. Okay. I will say that when I first started out going to college and stuff, that I was double majoring in chemistry and photography, and so that chemistry side always pops up. Like I always wish I had a much more accurate scale for things like that, just because it bugs me that this one is a little squiffy. Oh, okay. So the next solid that I have on here is, I have dill seed listed, but what I have here is not dill seed, it is dill weed. Same plant, different thing. So the dill seed can actually be subbed for things like caraway or celery seed, but you can use dill weed as a substitution. When I went to get dill seed, the only way that I could get it was in this tiny little jar for like $3. And I was just like, really? I just got this baggie of this stuff for less than a quarter. So I couldn't really justify the expenditure because I'm not going to use dill seed for anything else. But that's just, like I said, that's just me. So 6 grams of dill. 2. Yes, exactly. So when dill, you have like the seeds, which are typically added to like pickling spices, and dill weed, which fresh, gets minced up and put on top of like, say, fish with the lemon and butter sauce. But yeah, this is from the green bits. Okay, 0 that. Cardamom. So I happen to have cardamom seeds, and from every recipe that I've ever read, they tell you to take the pods and then take the seeds out and then use those. Well, I happen to have just the seeds, so I can avoid all that. And okay, good, I'm zeroed. 4 grams. This cardamom's pretty strong. There we go. 4. And then 4 grams of sage. Yep. This is just, I believe, rubbed sage. That would help if I zero. There we go. Oh, that's saying 4. Okay. Zero that guy. leaf stem, yeah. Dang regional things, never come across the word dillweed here. Yeah, seriously. You never know, something with a slightly different name is actually a different thing too. Always suspicious. You know, you're absolutely right, McFaceTab, because you get some crazy regional differences in terms of what people call things. Sage. Yep, sage. That's exactly what it was that I added. Like the same fish will be called one thing in California and another thing in Florida. That's just kind of how a lot of things go, but you do what you can with what you got. Let's see, 4 grams of thyme. This is just thyme leaves. Like, I really wish this scale went down to, like, tenths or something like that. Like, it drives me nuts only having, like, whole gram measurements, but, you know, that's just kind of how it goes. Black pepper. 4 grams of that. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And we got 5 in there. That's alright. So the white pepper that I'm about to add, this is actually an optional ingredient. You don't necessarily have to add white pepper. It is part of kind of the warming or heat that comes with the curry powder. There's a scale used for reloading and does it down to the 100th. Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably like down to the grain or something like that, which would be super cool, but I don't know how practical it is for kitchen use. Let's see, do I have... Oh yeah, so like on the recipe, like the cayenne pepper, for instance, that is an optional ingredient, as is like the white pepper. Let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, those are really the 2 items that are kind of like the optionals. If you want to keep it relatively mild, you can leave out the white pepper, you can leave out the cayenne, and you're totally fine. But it is very common to have at least a little bit of heat and that spice that goes into the curry powder. To be honest, the amount that's being added to the volume, plus how much you actually use in the curry, it's not a heck of a lot, and it's just there really as kind of like a background warmth. Which is just a really pleasing sort of effect. I don't know why I never like the smell or taste of white pepper. So this actually brings up an interesting point. What's the difference between black pepper, white pepper, green pepper, that red pepper or pink peppercorns? Black, white, and green pepper is the exact same peppercorn from the exact same tree. It's just how it's treated. White is actually not sun-dried, but it's washed and then dried, and usually indoors, so it doesn't get any color. Black pepper is sun-dried, and green is just straight up dried, not having been washed, not left out in the sun. There's some slight differences in terms of kind of that pepperiness that you know, as well as the aroma. Now, I will say that generally speaking, I'm also not a big fan of white pepper. The smell is reminiscent of, how is it best described? Wet horsehair. Yeah, and it's purely has to do, well, the smells and the taste comes down to a number of different things. Effectively, it's terroir. Like where it's grown, when it's harvested, how it's processed, if it's sun-dried versus not. There's a lot of different things that go into what will create kind of that final taste and aroma for everything. But white pepper in this particular circumstance, it's in there and it's just adding a little variation, a little bit of heat. So it's not really that off-putting to me. I know a lot of people prefer to use it, like if you're making like a white cheese sauce or any cream sauce, mashed potatoes, what a lot of people like to use. Hey, Cryptic Caramel, welcome. but they like to use it specifically so then that way, like their Alfredo sauce or their mashed potatoes don't have black specks in it, which for some presentation purposes makes total sense, and I get it, and that's totally, you know, cool. Have at it. I don't particularly care about the black specks in my Alfredo sauce, yeah, so the recipes are there. We had to use white for all cream. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly like you said, Vegas Squid. I mean, that's usually kind of the restaurant standard, is that you have to use that for those so that you have that clean look that, you know, everybody wants. Let's see. Oh, I forgot the 4 grams of star anise. So I've got the whole star anise here. And usually, I mean, if you end up breaking off like the little blades, the whole thing ends up being used, like stem and all sometimes, so don't worry too much about it. Let's see. I'm gonna break off like the individual leaves and drop now. Still hasn't even registered a gram. Oh, there it goes, 1 gram. But it'll probably jump to 4 when I add like the next thing. 2. Oh, there we go. See, it jumped to 4. Funny how that happens. Okay, star anise. And now, 4 grams of bay leaves. If you can find bay leaf powder, then by all means, do that. It'll probably be way easier. Let's see. I was curious what 4 grams weighed looked like, just in terms of dried leaves, and so I pulled out some bay leaves to weigh. So like all that's like 2 grams that I just added, and that seems like a lot of bay. B-A-Y, not B-A-E. There we go. It's on the cusp before. I'm fine with that. Okay. So that's the nutmeg, which I will need to get. My rice is done. Yeah, it is a lot, and they do have a very strong smell, but thankfully, that's why I did, I wanted to do this by weight, because all the recipes that I found in doing my research for the curry powder, they were like, yeah, 4 grams of bay leaf powder, and yeah, it seems like an awful lot. But we haven't even added like all the turmeric, the cumin, the coriander, the paprika, the cinnamon, the cayenne, garlic, and ginger. We haven't added everything else. That's it. By proportion, that's a very small amount. Nutmeg, 4 grams. I always fresh grate this. I get the distinct feeling we're gonna be here a while. So I'm thinking I should get that blending before I start. Okay. All right, let's give this a blitz. Okay. So that is in there. I'm going to leave that for a minute just to settle down. Okay. So in the meantime, let's get everything else into the bowl here. Let's see. There we go. All right. So now we get to start the marathon of grating. Let's get it in. Easy to hold on to. Just 4 grams that I wanted. Apparently all this nutmeg weighs nothing. Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't...
French toast.
Yeah, it does smell a bit like French toast, huh? Are we at a gram yet? No. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. It's even that little bit didn't...
Biggest quit said 4 hours later.
4 hours later, let's drop that whole thing in real quick. Okay, see now that registered finally, so okay. Yeah, that's what I said. That's the one thing is like this guy when it comes to like small measurements, that it'll be like nothing, 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 and then suddenly it'll jump. Like it suddenly realized, oh hey, there's actually something there. Yeah, I gotta find one. Okay, seriously? It did? Now it says 0.
Bring that over here and I'll just do it. Get the other scale.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you handle. I would just break all of it. In the meantime, well, that's interesting. Because when I just put this bowl on, it was thinking that it was 8 grams difference between that bowl and this one.
Maybe you have 8 grams of nutmeg.
Maybe. Okay, now we need everything else.
Okay, step right. 00016. Look.
Yep, basically. Okay. If you read that in SpongeBob voice thinking we should be friends, yeah, 4 hours later. Alright, so we need 40 grams of turmeric here. Yellow stuff that goes everywhere. $35, $36, and a smidge. $40! Hooray! Alright, next, cumin. There we go. That's 28 grams.
Still going.
Still going? 28. Huzzah. 29. Yeah, close enough. Okay, coriander. There we go. Like I said, the whole reason for the weights is so that if you happen to have solid spices versus powdered, you can... Weight is weight is weight, whereas volume clearly is going to be different. 24 grams, okay. Almost. Whoop. There we go. Okay. Next. Paprika. And this is just sweet paprika. This isn't smoked. If I can figure out how to undo this. It was just one more. Okay. Alright, we need 12 grams. $11, $12, $14. You're doing all right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Cinnamon, 8 grams. Okay. I'm gonna actually wipe this off real quick so I'm not getting paprika and stuff into the cinnamon. All right. $8 grams. 5, 6, 7, 8. Huzzah!
That's a good wipe.
Yes, yes,
I
you
get
are.
wipe points.
Yes, you do.
Here, this is the little piece left.
Oh, you can throw that away. I appreciate it though.
I couldn't get that.
Okay. Now let's head back to the nutmeg. Oh, now it's registering.
And how much is actually there?
I love you.
Great job. Great job.
French toast tomorrow. Oh, that's funny.
Hey, I got the win time. Woo!
Yes, you did. Great job, baby. Okay, cayenne, 8 grams. Do I know any machinists and electricians? No. Yeah, kind of a friend of a friend of a friend. I am curious what your idea is, though. That's true. Let's see. Cayenne, garlic powder. This is 6 grams. Six. Huzzah! Just start measuring everything in mandarins. Oh, exact spice dispenser? Huh. That would be kind of interesting. That was garlic. Okay, ginger, 6 grams. Okay. Very good. That's now off the table. Let's see. We're at ginger allspice. Oh, wait. That's Old Spice. Never mind. 4 grams. So let's say about that maybe. Okay. So you can dispense individual spices or dispense exact combination of spices. And let's see, cloves, 4 grams. I have whole cloves, but I've had this ground clove, and so I figured I might as well just use it. Okay, there we go. 4. Okay. There we are. One very riveting piece of cooking stream later. We have successfully weighed out.
Look yourself. Weigh those out in advance.
Well, you know what? That's part of the experience. You know? Okay, so we've still got some solid bits of bay leaf, which I kind of figured would happen. Should have broken them up better first, but oh well. Okay. Now let's tip in everything else. Back on the blender. Watch your ears. Woo. I'm like watching the camera. I'm like, how does this work? That is looking pretty good, but I'm gonna let that sit for a minute so I don't gas myself with curry powder when I go to take the lid off. That's pretty good. Okay. Time for a trip to the hydration station. Yeah, like a self shake. You're absolutely right, Biggest Wit. To be honest, like, I mean, that's how it's. Okay. So, important safety tip. What I did with the shaking of the blender is not something one should normally do when working with a high-powered blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec or something like that. It is something that you kind of just end up doing. And if you're not really, really careful, it could be disastrous. Not only could things go everywhere, but then you could end up hurting yourself. I have done just that with the shake many times for many years. But I do not recommend doing that at home. Yeah, if you can get everything in a powdered form and then mix it up, I would recommend doing that. Or individually powdering each of the ingredients and then mixing it up that way. That would be the safe way to go. You know, kind of the whole do as I say, not as I do sort of thing. But, yeah. Anyways. That is what our curry powder is looking like. And I'm thinking I should get out it looking like a powder. Let's get a bowl. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, because I haven't had enough OSHA violations in my days. Alright. So let's tip this in. Yeah, we still got a few little bits of bay leaf, but look at that color. It's kind of reddish yellow, but smells awesome. And then I'm just gonna blend in the last of my old batch. Slightly lighter in color, but it's one of those things that the curry powder just kind of evolves over time. Health District, Twitch Workspace, yeah, exactly. Okay. Twitch Space? Twice? No. Alright. That is looking awesome. There it is. Into the bowl, but I'm gonna kind of sift it first. That is less effective. Let's do that into a secondary bowl. We're just going to use all the bowls. There we go. There we go. I'm just sifting this to kind of take out some of the bigger pieces, so then that way when we go to actually make curry that I don't necessarily have any errant chunks kind of floating around that I don't want. But in terms of the color and everything, it's looking pretty spot on to what I think of when I think of Japanese curry powders. But like I said, if you want to skip all this work, you know, you can go ahead and just purchase, usually S&B or House brand. But if you have a curry powder that you're especially fond of, you can certainly use it for the katsu curry that we're going to make. Come on. All right. Okay. And we got a few larger bits, but that's all right. There might be. I just didn't want to dump it and have it go everywhere. And there we have curry powder. So I'm going to leave the spoon out because I'm going to end up using it with that. So let's give this stuff a quick rinse and then we'll move on to working on the roux. Yeah, that would be super. Okay.
It does smell good.
Right? So for the curry roux, for everyone that's playing along at home, if you pull up the curry sauce recipe on the Discord, you can play along. Again, I have things set up by weight. There's also imperial as well as... I have it by metric just because grams is just way easier to work with. But I do have like the ounce weights listed next to it. But let's go ahead and get started on the roux specifically. So the curry roux is like the hallmark of Japanese curries. You without the roux, you don't have a Japanese curry. No, unfortunately, I haven't trained the dogs to do dishes yet. I really wish. But the way that it's gonna work for this is we're gonna chop up a bunch of onions. We're gonna grate some garlic and ginger and carrot, and that's gonna go into a pan, and we're gonna effectively grate them. Like we're gonna grate the all that stuff and get it into a pan, and we'll add a little bit of the baking soda at that time. Now, I've talked about baking soda before and how it has a tendency to turn like the onions and everything to mush. Well, in this case, I actually want that because it'll help caramelize the onions and everything else quicker, but it will also, like I said, break it down a little bit. So then that way, that vegetation will also help to thicken the final curry. And then for the thickening agent, we are going to use cassava flour. Because in my research...
Bless you.
What?
I said bless you.
Gesundheit. Cassava flour, what I found was can be used in a 1-to-1 in making roux as opposed to an all-purpose flour. And I will say the one nice thing about the cassava flour is that it actually toasts up quicker than all-purpose flour, so it's kind of ready to use faster. But like working with all-purpose flour to make a roux, the darker the color gets, the less thickening power that it actually has, and so you have to use more of it the darker that you toast it. However, the more toasting that you do, there's a lot more flavor and complexity. In the circumstance of today, we're not gonna toast it a heck of a lot because we're gonna have a whole bunch of other things going on. But there is a way to use this with whatever kind of fat of choice. If you want to do it with butter, you certainly can. Or you can use like a neutral oil, and you can actually bake it in the oven. So then that way you don't even have to stir it because it's just super gentle, and you let it go with the cassava flour for maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes at like 250 degrees or something like that. It doesn't have to be very hot and for very long, and it will be really toasty and work really nicely. But the nice thing about that is that you can then add your curry powder, set it in like say a glass container and let it chill, especially if you use butter because it'll solidify at cooler temperatures. And then you can cut it up into actual roux blocks like you buy at the store from, the S&B, like Golden Curry or whatever Japanese roux blocks that you can get at the store. you can make your own that way if you want to. But in this case, we're not actually going to be making blocks, but we are just going to flat out make the roux in the pan. So we got the cassava flour for that. After we make the roux in the pot that we're going to make the actual curry in, I do want some other things in there. And if you have vegetation that you like to add to your curry, like peas or, carrots or whatever that you want to eat along with the curry, you can certainly add in at that point in time. For our purposes today, because we're also going to be doing the katsu, I just want like sliced mushrooms and onion. So I've got onions and mushrooms set aside that will saute in that pot first before adding the broth and the roux to actually bring the curry together. So that is where we're at. Yeah, bok choy is actually, that's a great idea. Something to add to it. So, okay. So I need on Team Roux, got a couple of onions here. I've got some ginger here. I need the garlic. What happens when you gotta play Tetris in your fridge. I'd love to see you make kare kare or lumpia or adobo. Vegas Squid, if you're on the Discord, drop those recommendations on there. Carrots. And because I don't feel like grating everything by hand, food processor for the win. Hey, Accidental Chaos, welcome. Come on. Okay, so now we can grate all the things. I will end up using the microplane that my lovely wife did the nutmeg on. I'm going to use that for the garlic and the ginger because I want it a little bit finer than the onions and garlic. The onions and carrots. So I have on here 700 grams of onion, which I weighed these two ahead of time with the skins on. It ended up being, I think it was like 750 or something like that. So thankfully for this portion of it, the amount of vegetation that you use it's not quite so critical. So I'm not worried if I use a little bit more because more onion is more flavor and more better. Why is peeling the onion giving me problems? It shouldn't. This one, I'm just taking the top and bottom. Then the carrot, if I remember correctly, the weight on that, something like 120, 140, 150 grams. It's about 5 ounces or so. I mean, the weight on that is really just kind of there for kind of a closer to a ballpark number. It's not hypercritical that it's exactly that amount. at least for the vegetation portion. So let's get rid of. So I'm just cutting the halves into quarters now, straight through the kind of the root portion, and then I'm trimming the root portion. So then I can run them through the food processor. And then the carrots I'm just going to peel and run through. That's ready to go. Like, it seemed like there were a couple of funky pieces in here, and since I don't need them to be beautiful, a bit more, and apparently one more. Yep, that'll do it. Okay. So now I just need to kill these guys. Nope. Wrong way. What do you mean? How am I going to puree the onions and carrots? Oh, I've got a grating plate on here, and so it's just going to go through and grate them, and then once the baking soda hits them, it'll actually break down the cell walls more so. So they'll end up kind of turning to mush at that point. I have the Vegas squid, yeah. So what Vegas squid's talking about is it's a pretty common technique where you smash the garlic and sprinkle a little bit of salt on it and kind of let it sit for a bit, and then you really you're chopping it up, but then you're using the edge of the knife. Let's see if I can get this. You're kind of like drawing the knife across it and smashing it down across the board, and running your knife through it and smashing it, running your knife through it and smashing it. So then that way it turns into a kind of a pulp. That is a really common technique. I don't do it super often just because, well, I either have a microplane or I've got my ginger/garlic grater, and I can achieve the same effect with significantly less work. So I don't really do it all that. Yeah, it looks like a slushy, but because of that, I don't do it super often. Okay, so let's get this shredded. Safety feature that it turns off when you take it out, so then that way you don't shred your hands. What was that? Okay. So, we've got some slightly bigger chunks left over, but that is okay because I can just run my knife through them.
What's the benefits of pureeing?
So in this particular circumstance, the reason why I'm grating them and to break them down even more so is because the texture that I want for the curry uses the onions and garlic and the carrots as a flavor base, and it's significantly smoother, but it lends some a thickening power to the rest of the curry. But then I'm also going to be chopping up onion to saute up with mushrooms, so then that way I actually have some onion, kind of onion bits. So it's really more of a textural slash flavor foundation kind of base is really what I'm aiming for with this. So, oh, looks like some big pieces decided to go overboard. That's a little disappointing. Hi, Jane. But I'm going to keep the liquid that's in there because I'm going to let it reduce. Excuse me, Jane. Thank you. Okay, so before I get to grating the garlic and ginger, because I've already got the board out and I've got these out and I've already got my mushrooms sliced and ready to go, I'm going to use the bit of red and white onion from Tuesday when I made the pico de gallo. Let's see. Honestly, the best advice I can give you, all you need to really do is learn how to read a recipe. If you can do that and understand lingo, you should be good. Yeah. To be honest, Vegas Squid is absolutely right. If you can learn how to read the recipe, and understand just the terminology, then you'll be fine. Provided that the recipe doesn't suck. That unfortunately happens way more than I'd like to admit, but that's just kind of how it goes. But I've already cleaned these mushrooms, and I'm just taking the very bottom portions of the stems off. I've got some creminis and I've got some button mushrooms here. All I'm gonna do is slice them up to go with the onions. I'll probably get my mandolin out for that, just because it's easy. Yeah, and these are nice, dense mushrooms. They haven't lost a heck of a lot of moisture or anything like that. And that's kind of what I wanted for this. Oh yeah, like the 70s cookbooks or whatever. Oh yeah? Like finding just really bad 70s cookbooks like that. There's a pretty infamous cookbook called Microwave Cooking for One that is probably one of the most depressing things that I've ever seen. And it was a meme for a while. Yeah, That one I probably wouldn't do just because I'm not really not into that kind of thing. Okay. Basic knife skill stuff.
Yeah. Well, like,
Brunoise.
yeah.
A Brunoise, which came up in an episode of NCIS. NCIS 50. It's Hawaii 50, but NCIS. Okay.
Please be careful. Oh my gosh, you're gonna slice your hand off. Use the cut glove, please. I beg of you. Nope.
Chat's like, how long will it be till he cuts himself? Ta-da! No cuts.
Cumin tastes like chicken. I'm like, we're about to find out.
I was told we tasted a little bit more like pork, but I could be wrong.
People said.
I'm like, I sound delicious. Alright. So this is all the vegetation that we need for our curry sauce. So now that that's prepped and done, we can get that out of the way. Those can go away, that can go away. What did I do? Ah.
Accidental Chaos said he tasted like whey protein powder until his mid-20s.
Ah.
Pickle says he needs to be dead first. We can eat him, but he's got to be dead first. And I'm like, but do you know?
Do you know?
Hey, Walking Dead, they ate Bob's leg.
They did eat Bob's leg. I'm infected too! Alright. There we go. Alright. Oops, there it is. Like, I want this spatula. Alright, onions and carrots into the pan. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of liquid right now, but that's okay. We'll get the heat up on that. Alright. Need to add some garlic. let's see, what did I say, about 30 grams? I'm just guesstimating on this because more garlic is more better. So right now what I'm just trying to do, other than add the garlic to this, and then I'll add the ginger, is I just want to get the liquid in there to evaporate as much as possible, and then I'll go ahead and add the baking soda to it, and then that will help aid in the faster caramelization of everything, so then that way we're not standing here for 45 minutes. Alternatively, what you could do, and I have done in the past, is instead of kind of standing, you know, in front of a stove and doing all this and kind of cooking it down this way, what you can do is kind of make a confit with, like what I've done with like garlic and onion, is I'll put like a pound of butter into a pan, and then I'll add a whole bunch of garlic as well as onions to it, and then just have it on the lowest flame on the back burner for like 8 hours. Then what it'll do is it'll slowly, very slowly cook it, and give me a really lovely flavored butter. Well, actually kind of a flavored ghee, really, because by that point the any water content has evaporated off, and I'll have all this wonderful caramelized garlic and onion. So what you could do is, using, you know, the garlic and the onion and everything else, get it submerged in that butter and just cook it for, you know, 8 hours or whatever. And then you would have that lovely butter, and then you just strain out all the solids and use that as your base for the curry. So I need about 20 grams of this ginger, which after weighing it earlier, it's probably about that much, which is about that. I'm gonna go rinse these off. I think I am going to use my ginger grater for this one, because the microplane can get really gummed up really easy. Whatever, about 30 grams. So if they're sizable cloves, probably about 4. But I did more than that because the ones that I was grating were a little bit on the smaller side. We don't want to eat lumpy pickle. We like lumpy pickle. Well, I mean, that's great and everything, but... Okay, I'm going.
Bring the conversation back to reality.
Yes, dear. Okay. Here's this while we're at it. Okay. So that is evaporating nicely, which is what we want.
Do you do this onions? Do you do this every time you make curry, or is it just curry?
It depends. To be honest, like, curry recipes are super varied. This is just one method. It's a method that I happen to like. Yeah, curry can be a very long and time-consuming process, but I mean, like that curry powder, now that I've made it, I have it for however long, so it's not that big of a deal.
Plus, it freezes really well.
Plus, yeah, and that's the nice thing too. So like the amount of curry that I'm going to end up making today, because I'm going to use about 1,500 mils of liquid, which is about 50.8 ounces, just in case anybody was wondering. Mally, just as an FYI, I believe you have to get his permission in order to do that, but lick is in fact a command. I think it's consent and Lumpy has to turn it on, if I remember correctly. But if Lumpy's into it, please, by all means. I believe,
What's happening?
I think cuddle and tickle are also a commands that you can do. But yes, consent is actually, so I need to go back into it. I set it up in the very beginning, but everybody in chat can actually have consent to either be cuddled or licked or tickled, any number of things. But yeah, no. You have to understand, Lumpy Pickle and DSMLE know each other, so it's okay, Vegas Squid. Eden, well, that's all Lumpy Pickle.
He's got a girlfriend.
It's true, he does. But yeah, like this curry, like the amount that I'm gonna end up making is, I don't usually make tiny amounts when I make curry just because of how much work it is. And so I usually make larger amounts that then I'll freeze. And then I can just pull it out and thaw it whenever I want to make curry. Or I want to eat curry, I should say. Alright, so this is doing what it's supposed to do. So now, baking soda. So what we want is about a half a teaspoon. And that looks pretty good. So what you'll see happen almost immediately, like if I don't mix it in, and if you watch the areas where it's concentrated, you'll see that there'll be a bit of a color change. So like the onions that it landed on, if you look really closely, like they'll actually turn kind of a deeper yellow in comparison to, I mean, because those onions were pretty light in color, but once it gets mixed in, you'll see that the texture is going to start to change. Like the carrots and the onions will start to break down a little bit more. And you'll also see the color change a little bit. And it's purely because we've changed the pH. And by doing that, it allows it to caramelize quicker, but at the expense of the cell structures of the vegetables. So it'll actually break down those cell structures a little bit. Yes, Mally is very real. If she's a Matrix simulation, she's a really good one, I will say that. Yeah. I mean, look at the consistency of the vegetables. I don't know if it's really noticeable. Like, I notice it immediately. Like, see how much more of a mush it is as opposed to, I mean, there's still like the individuals, but it's so much more mushy now. That's okay, because we want that. Alright, so in the meantime, we need to get those items, the mountain of butter, and really once the moisture is gone, I'll add the oil in a little bit just to kind of, well, to be honest, at this point I don't even know if I need oil, but usually one would add oil to kind of aid in that caramelization process, but by adding that baking soda, it just started to release so much liquid that adding oil right now wouldn't really make a difference. And since we're going to add butter and that cassava flour in order to finish off the roux, as well as curry powder. So I need that cassava. Just that. And then the curry powder, which I might as well measure out now. Okay, so let's see. Curry powder, what'd I say, like 16 grams or something like that? Curry powder. And thankfully you can add more curry powder if you'd like it just a stronger flavor to it. Then we're aiming for about 75 of this cassava flour. Oop, touch more. There we go. Cassava flour. Cassava, yeah. So cassava is if I remember correctly, it's kind of a tuber. If I remember correctly, I could be completely wrong on this. But yes, Filipinos use it. It's huge in Brazil. Toasted cassava flour is called farofa, and you put it on top of, well, kind of everything. But yeah, cassava is used all over the world. And that is looking very nice. That is what I wanted. But we're still... Unfortunately, the browning won't really start until the liquid is gone. So this is just one of those things where we gotta wait for it. But it will accelerate significantly. What level of roux am I aiming for? Honestly, the rice is in the rice cooker and it's like ready to go. It needs to be stirred. I didn't like wash it and put it into my rice cooker on camera because I just didn't. But I use a short grain rice from Japan. And then I wash it until the water runs clear, which is such a vague term. That's okay. No. Sorry, back to your question, Vegas Squid. I'm aiming for kind of a peanut butter-ish. That's kind of where I'm aiming for. But the rice, yeah, wash, and then I drain it for about 30 minutes before putting it into the pot in the rice cooker with the water for about another 30 minutes to soak before actually starting it. Yeah. Did you serve in the Navy? Oh, you're asking Scott.
Stir the rice.
Yep. Like the paddle should be clean. I ran it through the dishwasher. Are you stirring it?
Yeah. You want me to use the big paddle? I have the little one in my hand.
Use the little one. My ratios for my rice are literally about 1-to-1. So, like 1 cup or whatever of rice to 1 cup or whatever of water. That gives me the consistency that I like. Most rice cookers come with a little plastic cup that they tell you not to lose because it lines up with the lines on the inside of the bowl. But if you're thinking, hey, if I'm using 1 cup of rice and I'm using 1 cup of water, then it doesn't matter what size of container you got.
very oniony over here.
Yep. It is very oniony over here.
My eyes are burning. I'm gonna wander away.
Okay, see you, baby.
Woo! The rice is stirred.
Thank you. Let's see. Got my ketchup out. I'm gonna need my Japanese Worcestershire sauce. Ketchup, Japanese Worcestershire sauce, and got my butter, got my cassava flour. Yes. Now, if you're looking at the recipe again, exclamation point recipe, and you're looking at the Roux recipe going, what on earth is going on? Why does it call for tomato ketchup and Worcestershire sauce? Believe it or not, those are two super common additions to curry in Japan. And the Worcestershire sauce that I'm using is actually the Japanese Bulldog brand, just for authentic flavoring. Now, I am using my regular store-bought Winco ketchup.
Oh, your kitten showed up.
Hey, you're kidding me! You're here! Yes, we're making gluten-free Katsu Curry.
Just for you.
Just for you. And anybody else who, wants to avoid gluten for whatever reason, be it, choice, be it because their body says no, whatever reason. Right now I'm working on the roux, and we're using cassava flour. I got you, you're kidding me. I got you. And I was saying, like, at the beginning of the stream, that I was actually super grateful for this challenge because I don't do gluten-free, vegetarian, vegan cooking just because I don't. So it's been a fun challenge in learning how to do it. We're using cassava flour to thicken in a 1-to-1 ratio instead of all-purpose flour for the roux. And for the katsu, I found a replacement for panko that I was very, very happy with. I did a test run of it earlier this week and posted a picture of it, and it worked out really nicely. Now the corners of the pan here, if you can see it, are starting to brown, which is great because it means that we're coming into Flavor Town.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick
The
them in a
moisture is gone and it's starting to caramelize. That's what we want. Alright, so I'm thinking, yes, now we can add a little bit of that neutral oil in order to kind of fry it up. Yeah, at this point, now it's really imperative to stir just because I don't want to burn this. Alright, I'm starting to see little brown bits. But yeah, this is the mush that I wanted for that flavor base. Okay, have a good lurk, Vegas Squid. Now it's starting to look like canned pumpkin. It's got kind of that same color and almost the same consistency. Okay. There we go. We're starting to get some brown bits.
Still can. So much different when I was working Japanese curry at Chinese restaurants. It didn't work out.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's so much different than how I was watching the chefs make curry at the Chinese restaurant that worked at.
Yeah. Yeah, the Chinese curries are going to be a bit different. And I'm guessing that the curries mainly originate over on the western end, kind of where it borders with like India and that area. But you also have obviously the curry influences from like Laos, Myanmar, Thailand. Huh? Moldova? No, Moldova is not over there. Moldova is over next to Russia. Okay. That is turning super brown. Okay. So now, let's add in that curry powder. And I don't want to let this go for too long because the pan is scorching hot and I don't want to burn the curry powder. I just want to get it integrated and lightly toasted, which, whoo, it smells like curry. Okay, so I'm going to take this off the heat real quick because now we're going to add in the butter, the ketchup, and the Worcestershire sauce. And the butter was what, about 80 grams, about 6 tablespoons, which is about that. And ketchup was about what, 45, so about 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. And some Worcestershire sauce. And a little bit more. Okay. So now it's really starting to come together. Let's turn the heat back up. Now this is starting to look like a curry roux block that you get. Okay, so that's now integrated. Whoop. Time to add the magic cassava flour. I'm using Bulldog brand. It's a Japanese Worcestershire sauce. But if you have like Leon Perrins or French's or some other Worcestershire sauce, go ahead and use that. Yeah. Well, yes it is. Soy. Yeah, it's got a soy extract. Yeah, there's no wheat in there. Okay, I think this is about done because I'm starting to smell kind of that nutty kind of cassava smell. I'm familiar with it just because I've used it. But, boom. There's our roux. And all of this is going to go into the pot that we're going to make, but I'm going to take this off the heat for right now. And in fact, I'm going to go get a trivet. So we've got that handy.
People says it does look like peanut butter.
Right? Yeah. Kind of a dark, yeah, like a dark peanut butter, but I mean, this is really kind of the consistency that I wanted, because this will integrate and thicken up the curry really, really nicely. So that being the case, let's go ahead and get started on that curry. And then once we kind of get it going, I'm going to move it over to the main stove to kind of hang out. And then we'll fry up our katsu. So let's move this a little bit closer. I'd like for everybody to see what's going on in here. Okay. So we've got the onions and mushrooms that I needed for this. Got that neutral oil. Got the curry roux. I am going to use probably the mushroom bouillon powder. If you have a, like say chicken broth, beef broth, vegetable broth, whatever you want to use, feel free to use for this. I'm going to go, like I said, with this mushroom bouillon powder. Because I like the way that it tastes. So
Pickle's asking about the overhead camera.
it is, but the lighting was such that because it wasn't jibing with the lighting and the camera were kind of like at the same frequencies, and so you were getting like these lines. But apparently this is working. So let's do, there we go. Let's move that back. Oop. Move it a little bit that way.
This is what, one of the 8-quart pots?
Yeah, this is one of my 8-quart stock pots. So I've got the heat on and heating up a little bit before I add just a touch of oil. Because I'm not trying to caramelize the onions and mushrooms that I have in here. All I'm trying to do is get kind of a light saute on them. And now if you notice, there's not any salt in that. This is going to have a fair amount of kind of that umami and everything, so I don't want to add too much, just a little bit. And again, feel free to add whatever kind of vegetation that you want to this. If you want to add like peas, if you want to add corn, if you want to add potatoes. Quicks Writer, welcome, welcome. Right now, if you know what MSG stands for without Google. MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, which these days is traditionally made from a, it's spent sugar cane is how it's manufactured right now. Yeah, but it stands for monosodium glutamate. It was discovered back in 1910. What else would you like to know about MSG? This is, this is my little baggie. It's my baggie of Koch brand MSG. I do not mess around when it comes to that.
Is MSG gluten-free?
Yes, MSG is in fact gluten-free. Well, thank you kindly. How'd you find me? Is MSG salty or just MSG? Dang tots. So, MSG technically isn't salty in the way that your tongue isn't programmed. It's not hardwired to taste salt specifically, but it's used in conjunction with salt in order to get that extra savoriness, that umami. Now, just for extra points, MSG by itself is just fine. However, if you were to couple it with an equal amount of, let me look at the names real quick, disodium inosinate or disodium yenlate, commonly known as LNG, if you were to have those mixed in a 1-to-1 mixture, you would have effectively like 1 part LNG, 1 part MSG. Together, they act in synergy to have 8 times the kind of umami effect. And so if you have that mixed in with salt, you actually end up using less salt because it amplifies what's already there. And so as a result, yes, you have this LNG and you have this MSG adding that savoriness, and you need less salt and less sodium, and so that's, kind of a good thing. Info dump, yeah. Yes, MSG is in fact gluten-free. It's not derived from a wheat base. It's derived from a sugarcane base. It's actually fermented. Okay, so this is looking kind of how I wanted it to. Because it's not like fully caramelized, but it's still sauteed up nicely.
People said it best. LNG plus MSG equals OMG.
Correct. Now, if you want to make your own mixture, I'm going for extra points. What can I say? If you were to make a mixture of MSG and the LNG, which the LNG you can actually purchase online, it's pricey, but you can. Mix that in a 1-to-1 ratio, and then mix that by weight, about 90% salt to 10% of that MSG and LNG mixture. You will have yourself a phenomenal umami powerhouse right there. All right, so that's caramelizing. I'm going to go get the 1,500 mils of water. And since I've had this water boiling the whole time, liter and a half. Yeah, 1.5. It's almost as if I know what I'm doing. Okay. So now.
Chaos said I always thought MSG was
Bitter?
bitter.
If it can be if you're eating a lot of it, but honestly, you don't need a heck of a lot. And just like that, there we go. Scraping down the bottom of the pan, getting all that yummy goodness. All right, so now So this calls for, what, 2 teaspoons a cup, and 1,500 ml, 50 ounces, 8 ounces to a cup. That's 6 and change, so it's about 12 teaspoons, which is going to be 4 tablespoons. But I think I'm just going to do 3. Because I can always add more. There we go. I am happy with that. Let's give that a quick taste. Ooh, mushroomy. That's okay, because that's what I want. Okay, let me grab a ladle real quick. Or not so quickly.
Where'd you find the mushroom bouillon?
I found that at, I think it was one of the Vietnamese markets, but it's made by Lee Kum Kee, which is a big exporter out of, I think, Hong Kong. So if you happen to have like a 99 Ranch or something like that around, I would look for it there. Okay, so I just took out some of that hot broth and everything to get into the roux here to kind of break it up a little bit, and also should there be any errant brown bits to scrape those down, because all those brown bits are flavor and we want all that flavor. So I worked hard on this. I want it all in the curry. Okay. Alright, so now as that dissolves and works into here, that should start thickening up. Come on. I'm sitting there with bated breath going, waiting for it to like thicken up. But like most things, it usually has to come to a full boil for it to really start to thicken up. But I just want to make sure that the roux is all fully dissolved in there. Field trip? What?
Oh, we were talking about 99 Branch and Asian markets.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, you could probably order it online. I'd be really surprised if you couldn't.
Yeah, but Absolute Chaos actually found a 99 Branch. I think it was
Oh! Yeah, there you go. 99 Ranch is a pretty big chain. Okay. Okay, yeah, it's starting to thicken up. But I can also still see solid bits of that roux in there that haven't really broken down yet. All right. So I'm going to move this over to my stove and let it kind of field trip to Vegas. Yeah, we can do that. I'm going to move this over to the stove and just kind of put it on a low simmer to kind of let it do its thing. And then we'll get going with the katsu and then put it all together. So consequently, I have my oven currently on at about 250 or 225. The reason for that is because I know that I'm not going to be able to fry up all of the katsu in one batch. I'm like, why is this not thickening up as much as it's supposed to? I'm just looked, and sure enough, there's a fair amount of that roux that really hasn't broken down, but it is thickening, so that's good. Since I can't fry up everything at one time, I got my oven at 225 Fahrenheit, so then that way I can put it onto a tray and then pop it into the oven to keep them warm while I finish frying up. And for frying duty, I'm going to be reusing that the oil that I used to fry up the tacos that I did, what was that, 2 weeks ago? I filtered it and stuck it back into the bottle that it came in, so I have it. But in the meantime, I want to move that stuff away. And then we can start talking about kind of the process at this point. So, standard breading process at this point is coat them in normally things like all-purpose flour, but I'm going to use tapioca starch today because I got it and it works really nicely for this. Then we're going to dip them into a couple of beaten eggs. And then, this is the killer app of the whole thing. Because panko is made from bread, which is made with wheat, the question is what on earth could we use as a substitute for panko? Well, after doing some research, there is gluten-free panko that is available on the Weberverse if you want to go that route. I, however, was just like, you know what? What other possibilities are there? Tried a couple of things. What I found to work, basically Rice Krispies. So I wanted to get puffed rice that was like as little stuff in it as possible, but this crispy Rice Krispie or whatever, this stuff, when slightly crushed up, is an absolutely phenomenal substitution. I think it was Monday is when I tried this out. And the other thing that I tried was rice cakes, because it was puffed up rice. But I can drive tanks. I wish I could drive tanks. Thanks, Dang Tots. But the rice cakes had a really interesting kind of texture, but because they were so puffed, they tended to soak up way more oil than I wanted to. But it was a really interesting... It wasn't awful. It wasn't awful by any stretch of the imagination. However, this... If I hadn't have told you that I'd use kind of this Rice Krispie, you would have thought, like if you just closed your eyes and tasted it next to one made with panko, you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. It browned up the same, it had the same kind of crunch, and yeah, I am a total believer of using this stuff as a gluten-free alternative. And I did check the ingredient list just to make sure that there wasn't any form of flour or anything like that in there, and there isn't. It's literally rice, sugar, corn syrup, and salt. And that's it. Yeah, panko can be kind of hard to find sometimes, and I mean, I have a jar of it up on top of my fridge there, because I use panko with some frequency, but this makes a great substitution. I don't use it straight up though, just because the rice pieces tend to be a little bit bigger than kind of what I want. So what I do is I just put it into a bag, and then I just literally a light crunch to kind of gently break them up. So there's some variation in size, that I get some small bits that will, you know, kind of coat, and then some bigger ones.
Sounds like almost like the drums for that Van Halen song.
Oh, for the drum intro to Hot for Teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go. So let me get... Okay. So let's grab... I'm just going to use 2 of these in order to coat the chicken in these Rice Krispies, and then one I'm going to put the eggs into. The tapioca starch, I'm just going to put into a small sieve and kind of put it on that way. So I don't necessarily need a ton. Let me grab a couple of eggs for that. And one here. Got the pan. And let's get some oil in there. I'm aiming for about probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. So centimeter and a half of oil.
Show that on camera, right?
Yeah, sorry, I just... The pan was off camera when I just poured the oil into it, and I filtered it. So, I mean, I've already used it once for frying, but now I'm gonna reuse it for this. A little bit. Okay, need those eggs. And for these 4 pieces, I should be able to get away with just 2 eggs. When it comes to breading, this is like the one time where I'm just like, you know what? I would, if I'm doing any volume of like breading, I would just like fill them up and go crazy with the breading and everything, just because I hate when you watch like some of these videos, or you know, the cooking shows, and they're like, we're gonna bread this whole chicken using a single egg. And then it's like, okay, yeah, they dip like the first piece, but then afterwards they're like having to move it around like crazy in order to get a coating on it. And I'm just like, eggs are relatively cheap. I don't mind cracking, you know, a couple of additional eggs if it means that I don't have to mess around with that kind of thing. Oh, welcome the judge. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. mean, the curry's still gently simmering away, but at the same time, it's like, oh, there's still pieces of it that still haven't completely broken down yet. But it is thicker. Okay. So, I'm gonna hit these with that tapioca starch. I'm gonna do 2, get them fried up, and then do the other 2. Just so then that way, I don't like to leave the, let's see if, that's a slightly better view. Not
Judge
really.
is asking if you had an opportunity to check on the Kaiser Schwarm recipe.
The Kaiser... No, I haven't. Schmarn. The Kaiser Schmarn. Yes, Rice Krispies. What, this one? Yeah. It's... yeah. That's just the way that camera is. So, okay. I'm just putting a bit of the tapioca starch in the... my sieve here, and I'm just there we go.
Since we don't have a third 9x9.
A third 8x8, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Why tapioca starch?
Because it's gluten-free, and I had it. If you want to use rice starch, if you want to use all-purpose flour, if you want to use potato starch, go right ahead. Tapioca starch is what I had, and it is gluten-free, so I figured why the heck not? Okay. Into the egg. And that's part of the reason why I like having lots of egg, is because in that way it is nicely covered. Okay. Into the Rice Krispies that we've gently massaged, yeah. Yeah, with the Van Halen drumming. Thank you, Alex. Alex. And yeah, it seems a little weird, like, why on earth would you put Rice Krispies? But, so I'm using a generic one. I wanted some Krispies that had the least amount of stuff in it. Alright, so that one is breaded. I'll put that off to the side while we wait for that oil to heat up. And then we can start with the second one. Shake off the excess starch. There we go. Yeah, and the only seasoning that's on this is the kombu salt that I've made, as well as the as pepper. Nice and simple. Yeah,
Hey,
I
no
would agree.
Judgment. All God's children, it's fine.
In this particular circumstance, no. Because there's not enough of it to make any significant difference. Okay. So that is set. That is starting to come up to temp. I'm probably going to need some more Rice Krispies.
Groovy.
Because it's usually how it goes. Come on. There we go. No, I'm not. The only thing that's seasoned is the chicken. I've not seasoned the Rice Krispies. I've not seasoned the egg. I usually don't season like the flour, the starch that I put on. I don't usually season the egg. I don't usually season the Krispies because in my experience, seasoning them doesn't make a big enough difference, or yeah, it's not a perceptible difference in terms of the final product. And I find that it's usually just mostly a waste of seasoning. So if I season the meat well, then you're good to go. Because there's also not, I mean, it's not like there's a ton of like a ton of the coating on there. It's thin enough to where, I mean, and the meat is seasoned well enough to where it's not going to make a difference. Plus, you got the curry going for you. There's a lot of stuff
Great
going
job.
on.
Great job.
Change the seasonings, yeah. Well, unfortunately, Scott Connor, the if I did, then this part of the video would be muted. I'd like to avoid that if possible. Okay. Okay, I think I can turn this off.
Playing a split saying there's a program where you can separate the music from the video.
I would imagine that there probably is. I'm just unaware of it. But it makes sense that there'd be a way to separate it out. But like what ends up happening is in the VOD from Twitch is that they usually will automatically mute it. Okay, so my oil temp that I'm aiming for is hot enough right now.
What's the number?
So about 350 or so. In fact, right now it is more than that, way more than that. That heated up way quicker than I thought. So I'm actually going to turn off the heat for a moment because it is, according to this, it's cruising right around, yeah, 400. So that's way too hot. If I put anything in there right now, it's just going to spit and go crazy, and I do not want that. Surprised it heated up that quick.
David! What does burning smell like?
No. It hasn't started smoking yet, so that's good. Actually, 325 to 350. I mean, normally you would think, okay, about 350, which is kind of the standard frying temp. But in watching again a bunch of videos of Japanese chefs making katsu and stuff like that, the temp that they were doing it around was almost like 325, which I thought was really fascinating that it was that low. Yeah, in fact, I would bet if I were to take So the sticking, actually, let me change the view. Hopefully you'll see it better. So common practice to test kind of like whether or not the oil's ready is to take a like a wooden or bamboo toothpick and drop it in the oil. And you see how, like, I don't know if the camera shows it really well, but it's bubbling up. You can kind of see it. They would say that that's probably ready at that point, although my instant read is telling me that it's still running a bit hot. Lower heat so you can control better and won't burn. Yeah, no, you're yeah, absolutely. The lower frying temp will certainly be easier on it. The only benefit to the higher temp would just be, like, especially if you're doing something super thin, is that it fries through real quick. And for the bigger things, definitely the lower temp is the way to go. Yeah, exactly. If it's too low, you make it soggy, because then at that point, if the oil is too cold, then it's not, the pressure going in is stronger than the steam trying to get out. Exactly. Okay. That is about the temp that we want. Now my heat is currently off because it was too hot, so I'm actually turning it down to kind of low to maintain that heat that it's at. And in the meantime, I'm going to get these guys coated and ready. And then as soon as these are done, I'll put them on the other tray that I have here and into the oven to wait. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so that can go to the sink. And then the egg into that for an easier cleanup. Sink. Thanks, baby.
Although the dishwasher's full. Sure.
Ah. What I thought happened.
What?
We ran out. Like, the fire was completely out. That's why we keep a spare right here. I'm like, wow, that seems to be frying up a little bit slower than I expected. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to look. How long do I need to finish the meal from now on, and can I get over to me in time? To be honest, we're at this point in time, we're pretty close to being ready to go. Because once the chicken is all fried up, all we got to do is cut it up and serve. Because the curry's ready, the rice is ready.
Cut it up. Cut it up.
Cut it up.
I don't know. Where do you live, the judge? We live near Portland Airport, so that's the airport of choice, PDX. They do direct flights quite a few places now, including Korea. Well, oh, that's right. It's looking good. He's in Germany.
Ah,
Do you need these?
that's right. No, I'm good to go on those. There we go. That is looking most excellent.
Dang.
Like, it would be helpful if I had a cutting board to actually cut the katsu on after the fact, so we can serve up and enjoy our curry. Smells good. It's looking good. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, making curry is not necessarily a fast process, especially when you're making it from scratch like this, but to be honest, I mean, now that, like, we've got that curry powder made, I mean, it comes together so much quicker. There we go. There we go. Yeah, and I don't know if it's really, you can super tell, but it's browning up really nicely. It's got that beautiful golden color that we want. Let's see how the temp we want for the chicken to fry at. So ideally, I want to fry it between about 325 and 350 for this, because of how thin it is. My bike from Vegas will take about an hour to get to your place. Yeah, there you go. From Asian people. What's the main differences between a Japanese, Indian, and Thai curry? So, a Japanese curry is gonna, like I said, it's gonna be thickened up using kind of a roux. And then the base flavor of it is just gonna be different, because they've made it their own. A Thai curry, the paste again is made from a number of different ingredients that are used specifically in Thai curries, and then a lot of times like coconut milk will be used in them as one of the main ingredients. They range in color from, I mean, you get like your yellow, your greens, your reds, you have your jungle curries that are from Thailand. Check those out. I'm gonna get these on a little cooling rack real quick, just to so they're not sitting on the base. because I don't want these pieces of chicken sitting down on the base of the pan. I'd like them sitting up, so then that way any excess oil can drip down and air can circulate and it can actually stay crispy instead of steaming. Yeah, I got you, Vegas Squid. I had to put them on the rack. So I'm putting these in the oven to keep them warm for the time being. Excuse me, Jane. The oven's at 225, so we're good to go there. I turned the flame off just so I can skim off all the Rice Krispies, or as much of them as I can. So I don't want to have scorched bits sticking to everything else. Alright, so I'm not going to be able to pull out all the little tiny bits, but that's going to be enough that we are good to go. So I'll turn this back on. We can get the second set frying. Thankfully, the dishwasher is empty and ready to go, so cleanup should be pretty easy. So back to the difference. So Indian curries, curry literally just for India is just a gravy or a sauce. That's it. So there's a bajillion variations, and Indian curries generally, like starting out with whole spices is pretty dang common, and sometimes even leaving them whole in the curries and then pulling out like cinnamon sticks and bay leaves and stuff like that is a very common practice. But again, it's going to come down to kind of the flavor profile. Like, you aren't going to find beef curries in India for hopefully obvious reasons. A lot of chicken. You will see like pork ones, but well, yeah, you will, but you really won't see beef, just because of the culture. All right, see ya. Cooking techniques are about the same. Yeah, it really is. To be honest, like curries, that's really what it comes down to, is a lot of the cooking techniques are basically the same, but it's based off of what they have available to them and what is kind of developed as a regional cuisine because of ingredient availability. But I mean, like the curries that you would find in the UK, for instance, so like your chicken tikka masala, for instance, that's purely a British thing. That's not something that came out of India. That was something that was made in the UK. Granted, it was Indian immigrants that made it, but it was never something that was made in India, for instance. Nice. These are looking very good. Yeah, and thankfully, because these are pounded pretty thin, they don't take all that long to do it. Yeah. Did you know the Chinese buffet was created in Canada? Can't remember the people who did it, but it wasn't Chinese people. I wonder, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in Vancouver, to be honest. Just because there's such a large migrant, either Chinese, Korean, Japanese population up in Vancouver, I would not be surprised that's where the Chinese buffet originated. It was. It's like I know stuff. That is looking super good. I'm gonna go get that. What?
Hockey style was created in Canada too, so both people could watch the hockey game at the same time.
Extra spicy today.
Woo! No need for puns when we got buns.
All right, that's looking excellent. All right, fire is off. Stuff is out of the way. Hail, hydrate. All right. Let's make this magic happen. So there's our curry.
Is that the small white cutting board?
Yes.
I was thinking maybe we should get some more of those sizes in the other colors.
I'm down with for that.
Because then they'll fit in the dishwasher better.
Yes. Okay. Time to dish up. I am going with the turnip plate because turnip plate.
That was probably 99 range for.
No, this would have been. It was marked high at the time. Okay, so this may make me a curry heretic, but I actually like a bit of butter on my rice before adding the curry and everything else, so I'm going to add a little bit on there. Don't kill me, but this is how I like to eat it. Butter. But that is just me. Okay, let's cut into the chicken katsu. Oh yeah. Should do this closer. Okay, everybody quiet on the set, Jane. Okay, thank you. Here we go. Did the crunch come through? I hope so. Well, I know you heard it. You were sitting right there. Close-up shot. Let me eat the end. Mmm. Mmm. Oh, tasty. more katsu
Mic
because...
you can crunch that in front of?
I'm sorry?
Is there a mic you can crunch that in front of?
Oh. Guten Abend, the judge.
That is
Have a
bland.
good sleep.
Surprisingly bland.
Take care. Sorry. Sorry you went going to bed hungry. But, okay. Now, give that a quick stir. Curries. Yeah. It definitely could thicken a little bit more. But there we go. Gluten-free Katsu Curry. Oh, I'm gonna do one last thing that is very Japanese. Ba-da-da-da-da. Baby, if you want to get your phone and come take a pic. I'm gonna do one last thing that's super Japanese. It's also very Korean.
Cheese.
Mozzarella cheese. Yes, I'm adding cheese to it. I know it sounds a little crazy, but believe me, it's really good. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
Oop. Yeah, try that katsu.
I will.
And be honest.
Next step
Be
is to
honest.
fold
Tell me if
in
it
the
sucks.
I'll tell you.
cheese.
You know I will.
What does that mean? What does fold in the cheese mean?
That is
He
like
told
one of the
you.
few things I asked of her when we were married was that to be honest about the food. Like if it sucks, tell me. Because I know, yes you do.
There's just you, man. They're like,
Great job. Great job.
they're just like that one dish was too spicy the other day.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so curry party tonight.
They're super crispy. And you wouldn't know it Rice Krispie treats. That's what's crazy. It tastes so much like panko. I was shocked.
The curry with the rice and the cheese is delicious. Mm.
Why cheese? Accidental chaos is asking.
I don't know. Somebody in Japan or Korea thought it was a good idea,
And they were right.
and they were right. It's a very good idea.
You know, they'll put cheese in ramen.
Yeah. But the cheese, like it. The first time I tried it with cheese, I remember thinking like, okay, this is really weird. Like, but when I put it in my mouth hole, I was like, oh, it makes total sense. Like, it's super good. The only other thing that I would have here to go with this is there's a pickle that's usually served alongside it when you get it at restaurants. It's called Fukujin Zuke. It's like pickled eggplant, lotus root, daikon radish, and it's usually bright red. I thought I had some.
In the very back, in the middle, no. Very, very back. I'll look for it.
But that Fukujin Zuke like just pops, and it's so good. Vegas Squid, are you talking about Shokugeki no Soma?
Do you watch anime?
Do I watch anime? Am I familiar with the shows? Yes, I actually read the manga all the way through. Not bad. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I think my favorite food anime might be
Ginger. Is that what you wanted?
No, neither of those. Yakitate Japan, the baking anime from a number of years ago. That one was, I love that one. It was just a lot of fun. And the second closer, that was kind of a disco style, was probably one of my favorites of the show.
Maybe not.
There was another show that they redid a couple of years ago, like Cooking Master Boy, I think is what it translated to. I remember the original and preferred it. It was all about Chinese cooking.
Yeah, he's gonna info dump about
anime
now.
Yeah, sorry. Vegas Squid. Yes, I am familiar with Shokugeki no Soma. I read the manga, and I watched the anime a little bit, but I read the manga beginning to end. So that was interesting. But yeah, I was just talking about a couple of other food animes that I really liked. There was a curry manga that was being fan translated a number of years ago. That was amazing. I loved it. I can't remember the name, but they stopped doing it for whatever reason. And then there was another manga that was actually being published here in the States, Iron Walk Jan, which was all about Chinese cooking, which was amazing. Here in the anime. Yeah, but yeah, I've been watching anime ever since I was a kid.
It's an understatement.
Yeah. Just watched a Netflix anime called Kotaro Lives Alone. Is that the one where it's like a boy who cooks, but then like there's these people that just keep showing up, and so he ends up cooking? It's like a slice of life series, and he's doing like pretty basic like everyday Japanese cooking, which I thought was cool. I like the slice of life stuff, to be honest. It's I really like them. But yeah, whenever like food anime or anything like that comes out, like I'm usually all over it. Different anime? Oh, it's a 4-year-old. No, Scott, no one liked Ed Gein's Slice of Life. Yeah. A lot of yelling. Yeah, well, it's either hentai or it's like most fighting anime, or just the main or Asta from Black Clover, because he has one volume yelling. That is tasty. Agreed, Scott. Leave before Minmay starts singing.
Amen, Scott.
Yes, amen. Thoughts on the curry?
Good.
It's good flavor, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love the sliced mushroom.
Minmay from Robotech.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, leave before she starts singing. Ugh. Did the pest control people finally get here?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Dude, Robotech was the thing that made me love anime. It's the thing that got me converted to anime in general, because when it was airing here as a kid, they had war, like G.I. Joe, but unlike G.I. Joe, people died. G.I. Joe, everybody lived. No matter what happened, everybody lived. And it was just like, that ain't right. Pat labor pains. That's a good one, Scott. That's a good deep dive on that. Oh, snap. You have the die-cast toys? the alphas, the betas, the cyclones. Man, cyclones were the best. Unfortunately, the Saber clone never really showed up in the show very much, if at all. But
Sorry to bring it back to the food. I'm almost thinking the Rice Krispies more crunchy than the Panko.
yeah, actually, I would kind of agree with you on that one. The Rice Krispies, in this case, see, okay, see, we're on the same page here, Vegas Squid. Oh yeah, Gotcha Man. Battle of the Planets, nice. The Rice Krispies actually, yeah, in a lot of ways they're crispier than the Panko. The Panko is still somewhat small, although when I finally have a chance to start doing like YouTube food video reactions, there's some ones and where they're the breadcrumbs that they use are these giant like shreds of bread that are amazing, and I keep trying to like get a hold of them, but they're fresh and they're not dried, and so they don't really ship over too well. Yeah, if a motorcycle could transform into some power armor, dude, I would be all over that like white on rice. Mmm. That is yummy. No, I didn't know Sony owns the rights to Robotech now. Makes me glad I have my DVD box sets of it. They're supposed to make a live action?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Cowboy Bebop live action started off good, but then I was like,
Yeah, that's just it. Is the Cowboy Bebop live action started off good. It's like, oh, okay, they're being faithful, and you know, okay, this could be good. And I was with it for a few episodes, but I was just like, yeah, no, I might just give me my anime. I'm happy. I don't necessarily need a live action translation.
oh my goodness. Neighbors are walking around outside.
You thought it was pretty solid, Accidental Chaos?
Oh, just kidding.
I did not watch the Halo series premiere. Is Pest Control finally here? Dang, they're having a long day. Apparently our pest control company just got here for their servicing. Come on. Okay. I'm gonna close that. There we go. Halo better get a lot better quick or I'm out. Dude, Last Starfighter? Seriously. Not, yeah, absolutely. Not a remake of Last Starfighter, but like, hey, what's been going on with Alex Rogan? What about, you know, him and Maggie? Like, what happened to them? Did they, you know, take on and, you know, completely defeat the Kodan Armada? Were they able to restore the, I keep wanting to call it the Galactic Empire, but I know that's not right. Yeah, Last Starfighter was amazing. Zur, the Kodan Armada. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, Zur, well, yeah, Zur did escape. So whether or not he was able to rebuild the Kodan Armada, who knows? Back to sleep, Lewis. Exactly. Back to sleep, Lewis. We're telling Mom about your Playboys. Sit back to sleep, Lewis. So, yeah. Anyways, so that's really all that I've got. I mean, I'm happy to hang out, but at the same time, I'm like, I kind of like to sit down because I've been standing here for 3 hours. All right, have a good one, Vegas Squid. So yeah, I think this is a good stopping place. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you to everybody who's been active in chat and everybody who's been lurking. But we've got this gluten-free katsu curry on record. You're kidding me? I hope you're still around. If not, please watch the VOD because all the information's in there for you. So yeah, everybody have yourself a good weekend. Hopefully, you know, well, I know it's Sunday for You're Kidding Me, and if AJ were around, it's Sunday also. It's what, 2 in the afternoon for him, I think. But yeah, have yourself a good one, folks, and I will see y'all next week. Tuesday, like 4 o'clock for dinner. No clue what I'm making just yet, but we'll see. Oh, quick question from Vegas Squid. Hit me. Book ideas? Hit me up on the Discord. Yeah, if you just head to the Discord, whoop. Let's try that. Yeah, go to the Discord. Actually, there's also a button if you go on the Twitch page itself and you go into the About tab and scroll down. There's a link for the Discord. And yeah, definitely hit me up on there. And yeah, I'm more than happy to bounce ideas off of, because we love this stuff. So thank you so much to Scott Connor, Vegas Squid, You're Kidding Me, Lumpy Pickle as always. Let's see. Scott 2574, Accidental Chaos, Chris Carnage, all you folks, the Judge. Have a good night, afternoon. Not leave yet. Give me a minute. I'm hanging out. Vegas Squid, thank you so much. Munize, have a good one, ma'am. Night, folks. Thank you so much. Take care. I will catch you all later. I may see some of y'all in the Lord of the Rings Discord party. If not, I'll catch you all next week. Love you guys. Take care.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making a